Hello and welcome to Pop Tip Tuesday. Larissa here, and today's tip is related to heartburn and indigestion. Did you know that when you have heartburn or acid reflux, it's actually most often a sign of low stomach acid and not actually too much stomach acid? So this is a really common misunderstanding even by many doctors. If you're just having heartburn once in a while, then maybe it's just because you're eating your food too quickly or you're really stressed out while you're eating. But if you have a chronic issue like where you're having it every day or multiple times a week, then you really need to figure out what's the root cause and not just take an antacid, an acid blocker, proton pump inhibitor, because often when you take those, you're going to make the issue worse. You might initially feel better, but you're going to suppress the stomach acid even more. And we need stomach acid. Our stomach needs to be really acidic because this is how we digest our food. Especially proteins are digested, mostly they start being digested in the stomach, as well as some fat digestion occurs in the stomach. And it is critical to have enough stomach acid. So that's why if we don't have enough stomach acid, we end up having indigestion, different symptoms like gas or burping or bloating. And there's also a lot of other symptoms related to low stomach acid. Really excessive feeling of fullness after meals, bacterial overgrowth, bad breath even. Also, you would notice undigested food in your stool as a sign that you're not fully breaking it down, because food should really be pulverized in your stomach like a blender, like a Vitamix blender though. Diarrhea, even fatigue, feeling like really fatigued or sleepy after your meals. Headaches, anemia is a big one, especially if you increase your iron and you're not responsive to that, because we need sufficient stomach acid to properly absorb iron as well as B12. There's also a lot of health conditions that can be more serious that are also associated with low stomach acid. It's a long list. We've got everything from allergies, asthma, autoimmune diseases, skin conditions like eczema, rosacea, chronic candida, gallbladder disease, osteoporosis, thyroid disorders. The list goes on. So having low stomach acid is a really serious problem. And so many people with heartburn or acid reflux are ending up taking antacids or acid blockers, and this is making the problem much worse. We want to always get to the root cause and figure out what's causing our symptoms and then treat the root cause. There's a simple test that you can do to be sure, not 100% sure, it's not foolproof, but it's pretty accurate given how easy and easy and cost effective it is. So it's called the baking soda test. Basically, you take 1 teaspoon of baking soda and stir it in a glass of like 8 to 10 ounces of water. And on an empty stomach, so it's best to do this first thing in the morning before you've eaten anything, drink the whole glass and then really think about what you're going to eat for breakfast, or think about anything like your favorite meal. Even if you have food cooking, smell it. We want to activate what we call the cephalic phase of digestion, and that sends a message to our stomach to start producing more stomach acid to get ready to digest our food. So you want to do this so that we can know if we're producing sufficient amount of stomach acid. So after you've taken the baking soda water and you've activated your cephalic phase, then you want to wait 15 to 20 minutes and see what happens. If you start having some burping, this means you likely have enough stomach acid, which is good, because that means the bicarbonate is mixing with the hydrochloric acid, creating carbon dioxide, and that gas comes up as burps. So that's a good thing. We want the burping. But if you're not having any burping, then this likely means you have low stomach acid. Also, it's important to know that after the age of 40, but even for some after the age of 30, we naturally start producing less stomach acid. So the tips I'm about to share are really helpful and can be incorporated into your daily routine. But other things will also reduce stomach acid. I mean, stress is a big one, as well as a diet that's high in sugar and processed foods, high in alcohol. What are some easy strategies to increase your stomach acid? First of all, quick note, if you already are taking an antacid or like a stronger proton pump inhibitor that's prescribed by your doctor, especially if you've been on it for a while, then you shouldn't just immediately go off of it and start using these tips I'm about to share. You have to consult your doctor, tell him what you learned, and discuss with him that you would like to be weaned off of that medication, that acid blocker. But if you're just starting to have heartburn, you haven't taken any antacids or acid blockers yet, or just a little bit, then right away you can start to implement these tips instead of taking the antacid. Super easy. Tip number 1 is to use lemon water and apple cider vinegar. The easiest way to do this is we want to just take maybe half a lemon squeeze and 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, mix it in a glass of water, and drink this 15 to 20 minutes before each meal, or especially before those meals that are high in animal proteins that are going to be harder to digest, because again, a lot of the protein digestion happens in our stomach. And if you notice that you're sensitive, like maybe your stomach hurts or you feel nauseous having the apple cider vinegar, then just stick with the lemon water initially, or just start with a lower amount. Also, some people just find that on an empty stomach, it's too harsh, one or the other. And so even though it's better to have it before, if really your stomach can't tolerate it, then start adding it with your meal. But then after time, you could try to start having it before your meal, because it will then be more effective. And you can work from 1 teaspoon up to 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water. Basically, the reason this is helpful is that it's helping to increase the acid, and this actually creates a feedback loop. So it's not just a temporary aid, but it's actually in the long term going to help your body to start producing more stomach acid, but along with some other healthy lifestyle changes. So that means at the same time, if you're consuming too much sugar and processed foods, you want to decrease those, because those are also harming your stomach acid production. And if we have a body that's out of balance in terms of pH, meaning, our body becomes too acidic, which is also from consuming too much sugar, processed foods, as well as too much dairy, meat, and other animal products, then we need just a more alkaline diet, which means a lot more fruits and especially vegetables, especially green vegetables. So when we have too much acidity in our body, interestingly, our stomach tries to counterbalance that and produces less stomach acid. And actually, even though lemon is acidic, it also has an alkalizing effect in our body. It's quite interesting. Lime would also work well. As I've heard from my mentor in my functional nutrition training, with clients, usually lemons are more effective. They just have they're similar to limes, but they just have a lot more of the nutrients, especially like vitamin C, which is very, very beneficial. So you might be wondering, why does this heartburn occur with low stomach acid? So let me explain. Basically, when we have low stomach acid, it also is affecting the lining of our stomach and digestive tract. It kind of thins this mucus lining, and it also reduces the tone of this little door. It's called the lower esophageal sphincter. It's the little door that we have our esophagus where the food goes down, and then just below our rib cage we have our stomach. Our stomach's actually here, down below where we commonly think of as our stomach is actually our intestines. So there's this little door, and it becomes weak when there's not enough stomach acid. It also becomes weak when we're eating, again, too much sugar, processed foods, also sometimes too much coffee, tea, even chocolate, alcohol. And so the door becomes weak and starts to open. So when we have the low stomach acid, food is staying in our stomach longer. it's not being digested as well, so it stays there longer, and we get a buildup of gastric juices, which even though there's low stomach acid, the gastric juices are still acidic, and so some of that undigested food or the gastric juices come back up our esophagus, and that's where we feel this heartburn or acid reflux. And we basically need to strengthen that little sphincter, that little door, so food and gastric juices don't come up. And that's where, again, we need to increase our stomach acid, and we need to decrease those foods like sugar, processed foods, alcohol that are weakening that little door. Make sense? If you have any questions, let me know. There's other things that can be done, but this is just the easiest things to start with. And if this doesn't work for you, then I recommend reaching out to me. Either you can comment below or you can reach out to me directly with a private message. I offer free consultations, and if you would like one-on-one support with any sort of digestive or gut health issue that you have, I can talk to you about what I have to offer. But I really hope that this was helpful. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next Tuesday. Bye.